Welcome to video 54 in series 3, and in this video we're going to write the player inventory script. Okay, so I'll make a new C# script and I'll call it player inventory. And it's going to be one of the longer scripts in this series and one of the more, I guess, interesting ones as well. I need to use using system.collections.generic and also using a Unity engine.ui. Okay, and I've got quite a lot of variables, so I'll go ahead and start typing them out. Public transform inventory player parent public transform inventory UI parent. It'll become clear what these are for in a bit. Public game object UI button, then private player master private game manager toggle inventory UI, and then we'll just call this inventory UI script. Yeah, let's keep it a bit shorter. And private float time to place in hands, and I'm going to just give this an initial value of 0.1 seconds. Private transform currently held item. Private int counter. Private string button text. Private list. It's of the type transform, and I'll call it list inventory is equal to a new what am I doing there? Equal to a new list transform. Okay, good. I won't need the start and update methods, and I have quite a few more methods to write, so I probably should get onto that. Those are all the variables. So void update inventory list and UI. Void check if hands empty. Void clear hands. Void clear inventory UI. Public void activate inventory item, and it will be taken the type int, and I'll just call it inventory index. Void deactivate all inventory items, and I think last of all is an IEnumerator. Place item in hands, and I'll put it there. Transform item transform, and yield return new wait for seconds time to place in hands. Alright, so those are the methods that are involved here. I probably will start with this one. That's logical to start with the initial references. So inventory UI script is equal to game object dot find game manager dot get component toggle inventory UI. That was the script. So we wrote that in the last chapter. And then the next one is player master, which is get component player master. Okay, and on enable, I'll set those references. Okay. Now, while I'm here, I'm also going to update inventory list and UI, and I'm also going to check if hands empty. So when the game starts, I want the inventory list to get filled up and the UI to get updated in the background, and if the player doesn't currently have an active item in their hands, but they have items in their inventory, then the last item, well, the way the script will work, the last item in the list will be activated in the player's hands. Okay. And I've got some subscriptions to do as well. So player master, oops, wrong spelling, player master dot event inventory changed plus equal update inventory list and UI. I'll copy that. Didn't mean to cut it. Alright, and the next one is to think, was it clear hands? No, it's to check if the hands are empty. So let me put that in, check if hands empty. Okay, good. And then I have another one as well that I need to do. So player master, whoops, again, same problem. Player master dot event hands empty plus equal clear hands. And I'll copy all of these and have the unsubscribes. Okay, so those are set up. I'll go down, I'll do the shorter methods first. Yeah, that will make more sense. So I'll fill in the end result. So the currently held item will be equal to the item transform. And while I'm at it, I'll also activate it in the player's hands. So currently held item dot game object dot set active is true. Okay, so that's the end result of placing something in the player's hands. Is after a brief moment, because you'll find this soon enough, that what I'm doing is I deactivate all of the inventory first, all of the game objects, and then I only activate the item of interest. Okay? So for deactivating, I say for each transform child in inventory player parent. So I go through all of the items actually carried on the player, and I probably should have explained something. What's going to happen is I'm going to place all of the inventory items underneath the first person character. They're also going to have anything that's an item will have the tag item. And so because of that, then the script will be able to identify all the items on the player. And the way my system works is if all the items are active or whatever, it doesn't matter, all items are deactivated and only the selected item is then activated. So that way it's clean and clear cut, and you can't have two items active at the same time by accident. Okay, so coming back here for deactivating, so for each transform child in inventory player parent, if child dot compare tag, and that tag is going to be item. Now I could do this in the game manager references. That probably would have been better. You could do that. You can go create a global reference that's of the type, well, it's a string and the wording is item, and then you can just check it here instead of typing this out manually. But anyway, if child.compare tag item, then I will deactivate it. Child.gameObject.setActive false. Alright, and that will deactivate all of the items in the inventory if they are already active at that time. Okay, and then this method here. Now this one is a bit more interesting, so you'll see it. It's going to be called by the buttons, the inventory buttons themselves in the UI. When you click on them, they'll pass in an index value, and then the inventory item that matches that value will be activated. Matches the item in the list, rather. So the index value in the list, that is the one that will get activated, and it'll make more sense when I just type it out. deactivate all inventory items first of all. Before activating anything, I've already explained that. So first of all, deactivate everything, then start coroutine, and that coroutine is place item in hands. And which item is that? Well, it's going to be from the list inventory, and it's going to be with the inventory index supplied by the button. Okay. And that will actually cause the item to appear in the player's hand. Okay, so let's keep going. Now for the inventory UI, I wanted to clear it out every time the player brings up the inventory menu. It's just a lot easier that way, so I'm just going to say for each transform child in inventory UI parent. So this one down here. And I'm just simply going to destroy. So destroy those child game objects dot game object. Okay. So yeah, those are the buttons. I just forgot to mention that. So those child game objects are the buttons in the inventory UI, and this clear hands here is currently held item is equal to null. So that's called in a special case. Now this method here, check if hands empty, this is to check, if the player has items in their inventory, but they don't currently have anything held, so their hands are empty, then if that's the case, then I want to activate the last item in the inventory list. So it'll always be, this will be important later on when the player is able to throw objects. When they throw an object, what should be the next object that should appear in the player's hand? So I've just selected that it'll be the last item in the list. You could make it so that it's the top item, or you may have some other system, but I choose the last item in the list. So what I will do here is to first of all check. So if currently held item is equal to null. So if this variable's got nothing in it, it means the player isn't holding anything. And inventory list, or rather list inventory, dot count is greater than 0, means the player is carrying something. So if those two are true, then I need to, I guess, activate the last item in the player's hand. So I have to start coroutine. And that's place item in hands, and the item is from the list inventory. And what index is it? I told you it's the last index, right? So, oops, let me just sort that out. Okay, and the last item is list inventory dot count -1. All right, and that's it. So this will place the last item in the list in the player's hands and activate it. Good. Now onto the largest method of them, and this is where you see the inventory stuff get updated and how the buttons get the methods assigned to them, so that you can actually click on the inventory UI and it brings up the item. So first of all, I'll put there counter is equal to 0, and you'll see its purpose soon enough. And every time I update the list, I just want to empty it out. So I'm just going to say list inventory dot clear and list inventory dot trim excess. So if there are any empty entries in it, they'll just all get removed. I will clear the inventory UI. And now I'll actually iterate through what the player is carrying. So for each transform child in inventory player parent, yep, that's the one. Now if that child has the tag item, so if child.compare tag, and it's item, then I've got quite a bit to do. First I'll add that to the list, so list inventory dot add. I'll add this transform child because it's an item. Okay. I will instantiate the button, so I'll do game object go is equal to game object, or rather instantiate UI button, and that's it, as a game object. Button text is going to equal, so button text is the string up there, and I'm going to pass that into the text field, so button text is equal to child.name, and now I'll assign that. I'll say go.getComponent in children, and what component is that? It's the text component. .text is equal to button text. So why am I saying go.getComponent in children? So if we go back, I made this prefab quite a while back, the button prefab, and underneath it is a text. So the child game object of button has a text, and this is what's going to get set. Alright, so going back, int index is equal to counter, and you're going to see now I'm going to assign this. So what I'm doing is, as I'm going through each object in the player's inventory, in their physical inventory, so underneath the first person character, for each item, as I add it to the list, and I create this button here, I know that item in the list, it's currently, index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because for example, this is the first game object, the index is 0, it's going to be assigned to this button, which will then activate item 0 in the list if it's clicked on, and item 0 in the list is this game object. So it just works out really well. So go.getComponent, no, not that, go.getComponent, this one we got there, and this is from the button that I instantiated. What am I getting? It's the button. And what am I going to do? It's on click .add listener. And in order to pass in the counter here, this value, I'll have to do delegate. So delegate. And now I can type in activate inventory item index. Let me just sort that out. Right, there we go. Okay, so yeah, just pay attention to that code there. It's a bit tricky because you can't normally just, the way this add listener works, you would just assign a method name, but this method here, activate inventory item, it has a parameter that it needs in order to do its stuff. So in order to do that here, you need to actually use this delegate, and then you can pass in the parameter. And then next, go.getComponent. Again, I am going to send another item here, a method on click .add listener. And what I want to do is to make it call the toggle inventory. So that was back in the game manager, and if I recall, it's actually private, so I'm going to go there, just make a slight detour, go to toggle inventory UI script, and find the method toggle inventory UI, and set this to public. So just a public there, okay. And what this will do is, it'll turn off, besides calling the inventory UI toggle, it'll turn off the inventory UI. So when you select an item, you don't have to manually, like for example, if I set it up, you'd have to press escape to close the inventory. Instead, this is more intuitive, and the moment you select something, the inventory UI will just go away. Alright, so going back here, so add listener, inventory UI script dot toggle inventory UI. Okay, and now that I've done that, so I've set up the button. It's got a name now to its text field. That's supplied now, so it's got a text. I've assigned it 2 methods that it needs to run when it's clicked on. Now I need to actually give it a parent. So currently it's just floating in space. So go .transform.set parent, and that is the inventory player parent. Okay. Or rather, not inventory player parent, inventory UI parent. And there's also something else I need to say false for this boolean world position stays. It's because it's in a UI, and so that doesn't matter. Okay, and now I can do counter ++. So I finished that operation, and now I'll increment. Okay, so I'll save that, and I believe that's done. So it is quite a more complicated script than usual. So let's go ahead and set something up and see it in action. So I'll go to the player, drop it on. The inventory player parent is the first person character for the canvas inventory. Let me just expand that, drop in the content. So it's the content part, because this is what the buttons will be placed inside of in the canvas inventory. Going back, now I need that prefab, the button, so I'll drop that in. Okay, so I'm going to add some cubes to the first person character, so I'll just add a cube here. I will move it just a bit more forward, and I need to change its tag, so I'm going to add a tag. I will add another one here and call it item. Exactly the same spelling and case, important. Go back, assign it. I will duplicate that. Okay, move it to the side. Okay. So not maximize on play, so we can see what happens. So if I hit play now, alright. Okay, so they're both active. And let me just do that again. So let me say if I have them both deactivated, or one active. Let me try that, see what happens. Okay, good. So one activates, because it saw that there are... So let me go through that in code, and let me start that again so it makes sense. So currently the player is carrying 2 items, and let me rename them. Say item 1, item 2. Okay? They're both deactivated. Currently, they're sitting in the player's inventory, which is just under the first-person character. And what happens when you hit play? One of them activates. It'll be the last item in the inventory. There we go. Item 2 just activated. And you can see it on the left side of the screen. So if we go back to the script, that's what happens in onEnable. After setting the initial references, there's an update inventory list and UI. That's in the background. We don't see that. But then we do check if hand's empty. So let's go there. So when we check if hand's empty, there's currently nothing held by the player. This variable will be null, and the list inventory is greater than 0. It's got some items in it. So that means that I should place that item in hand, so it's the last item in the list. And when I do that, first of all, I deactivate any inventory items that were active. Oh, sorry, whoops, what am I doing? Place items in hand, so going down here. So this is the item passed in, and what I do is I just wait for a moment so that, well, if I was deactivating the items, then there wouldn't be an issue with multiple stuff being on top of each other. And then after that, I say that the currently held item is that item that was passed in, so the last item in the list, and then I activate it so the player can see it. Okay, so, but at the moment, there's nothing you can do with items. They do absolutely nothing, and that's the next chapter where I'll implement a lot more scripts so you can actually pick up items, you can throw items, and you can add other scripts like you'll see with the weapons later on in another chapter where you add more scripts to make it do something unique. Alright, so that's the item, and in the next chapter when you see much more with the items, you'll find that you can pick up items and you can throw them as well. Which is pretty neat. Okay, and so there's a lot more work to do, And that pretty much is it. I think this video has gone on quite long enough. It'll make more and more sense as we continue onwards and we keep adding more functionality. Alright, so thanks for watching, and that is it for this chapter. I'll see you in the next chapter.